What's going on, everyone? Goose on the 13th here with a quick update for the latest dev letter in GBO2 as of April. So we are on the cusp of Golden Week and all that good stuff, of course. And we have a couple things to go over. A quick rundown, I guess, of what's actually in the update itself. So we have, as you can see on there, we flashed real quick. The Roselle is a new suit that's going to be coming up. New rank, which is Colonel. We got some more stuff that's going to be introduced in there for the DP store. New weapons for existing suits. We'll get into that more in detail in a second. Rival system changes, which is a pretty big one. You can now see the upcoming targets in Target Shuffle and Power Up Hanger campaign. So, from the top here, we got our new announcement, which is the Roselle. The Roselle of which they even mention is based off of the Z2. And generally, the Refined Zeta Gundam Escort Leader, which is pretty neat. It's a ground space cost 600 general unit, another transformable, and we will be checking out the trailer here. So, pretty standard from what you can see. Neat that they're bumping up the cost a little bit for it. And honestly, outside of maybe seeing the behavior of some of the extra stuff that it has on it, like the arm missiles and all that good stuff, hopefully it does well. There's a lot of people that are very excited for this, mostly because it means that some of the other variants and whatnot will also be coming through. And I don't know. I'm hoping that I get it. I don't know how much I'm really going to use it at 600. If it kind of feels a bit more like it could do a lot of stunnage and chain into some of its melee a bit better, then it might even replace the Shiki Kai, depending. But otherwise, I'm probably going to just stick to that because it's been a pretty good daily driver for me. But I'm still going to spin for it because, you know, we've actually been in a bit of a drought on the channel in terms of getting the new suits, and it's starting to get to me. Oh, I needs Magacha. Help me. But moving on down the line, we have a new rank, which is Colonel. They also make note here, currently more than 10% of all pilots have reached the highest rank of Commander. Gathered information from pilots that have logged in the game within the last 30 days. Since number of players has reached the max level of 24 are increasing, we're lifting the plan on Colonel, which is higher than Commander. At last, rank can be increased up to that of the Red Comet. At first I was like, does that mean they're doing another one? And I was like, no, you dumbass, that's just what he was ranked at. Duh. But, of course, with the new rank also means a new tier in the DP store, in which they are introducing us the HML, the Toad Raider, and the Mark V. All of them, of course, at level 1, and we're talking about a DP cost of each of them at 600k. So for me, that's not a big deal. The Toad Raider one, I'm a little salty about it because I just bit the bullet on getting the, taking the RT to get it on Ginny, my secondary account. But let's be honest, there's no way I was going to raise that much because I'm still actively buying stuff in the DP store just to clear out that list over time. I think the only one that would really leave is maybe the Mark V. I want to say I have some form of HML, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So the next one, and this is the more interesting thing to me anyway. It's not the biggest deal in this list, but it's the more interesting one to me. New ornaments to existing mobile suits. So new ornaments have been added to the mobile suits that are active on the field by GBO2. Not just the performance of the existing mobile suits are adjusted, but the action aspects are added and then improved to make the battles more interesting than it ever was. Just like the Super Gundam, the Prototype Mark II have been launched as of February to the Consortium on the ground, which is, you know, a good example. Has been enriched by the entry of the Zell. Therefore, so yeah, in celebration of us doing more unicorny things, maybe some of the other things that were in that War Museum fight should be able to do what they were able to do in Unicorn. How well themed it is. This one in particular, I think, is kind of the odd one out. I don't really remember seeing one sortie cue someone saying that they saw it and they actually have a specific timestamp for that clip. Oh my god. But here's some fun ones. So We got the rapid fire for the missiles. Rapid fire performance is used for the Joagu and the Xeon remnants in the original unicorn as its conversion. Fire multiple small rockets rapidly at high speed from aligned up barrels. Now, the only thing that I kind of wonder about this is that if they're going to be shooting smaller ones at, you know, at a certain volume, I guess, are they going to be more like the shoulder missiles, say like on the Aqua Gym and stuff, where they're a little bit smaller, they do come out a bit more clumped, but they are also going to be a little bit slower. The nicer thing about the Joagu is that they actually have some pretty decent traversal speed and good buildup in terms of just damage and stuff. So that'll be interesting to mess with though, and that will be dropping on the 28th. Let's see, Rapid Small will be added to the recycle window. That's also kind of an interesting to keep in mind here. Recycle window, so I'm assuming recycle tickets, and they're gonna be in there from the 28th. Wait, no. Within these 2 days, the 27th to the 28th and the 28th to the 29th. So hopefully anyone who gets them can actually nail this. The next fun one, and this is the Gym 2 gets the harpoon gun. So this pretty much, yeah, when compared to the Gym rifle, they even mentioned it. When compared to the Gym 2 beam rifle, it's user-friendly with high range and power. Short reload period, but with cooldown time increased with consecutive use. So the neat thing about that, and the interesting thing, is that pretty much everyone has said at this point after they saw that, like, well, that pretty much trivializes the Gym 2 beam rifle, and they are not wrong. Not to mention, you can kind of finagle some extra range out of this because it actually just keeps traveling for the most part. There is a certain point where it dissipates, but it's got some crazy reach on it. This is one that's really fun. And I don't know if other people were having fever dreams when they were talking about it, but there have always been some mentions that there was at one point these grenades. And maybe it was just them hoping that they would actually come into the game at some point, but now here they are. So, new rocket-propelled hand grenades as a secondary weapon is also a weapon that has been used in the attack on Torrington Base and Unicorn. A special grenade which goes straight to its target after being thrown with this rocket thrust has been added. Just like the Dragon's slub weapon, which is, another good comparison. So much like the Tri-Blades, except it's singular and you just go whoop, and then you just guide it with your reticle, causing a wider blast which also makes the unit staggered. The fact that they actually give it splash, which is what that seems to imply, is actually pretty good. I thought it was just going to be on contact, but that's really cool. And then this one seems like the odd one out, but you know, I think, yeah, they even mentioned Stardust Memory because it's Seema's unit. Oh boy. So the Gilgug M Commander, addition of the Head Vulcan Late Type 2 to its list here. So I've had a lot of really good runs with the Commander type early on. There's always a little bit of back and forth as to whether or not it's still able to hold its own nowadays. A lot of people tend to be a little bit more negative about it, but you do still see it run pretty commonly in some cases. I wouldn't really say whether or not having the additional Vulcans is going to help. It's definitely nice to have another weapon on there, especially something that you can do while you're trying to pursue people. So it'll be interesting to see how that factors in. I'm definitely going to try it out. On a suit that's already very, what's the word? Like in terms of just like cumulative stun heavy. Having something like this that you can just kind of switch to while moving is really good. So we have the new armaments, Downtrope and Dodge, Gilgug and Commander type. As the armament shortcut will be reset. So that's something else to keep in mind. The shortcuts for these, because they're adding them in there, are going to be reset to the initial state. You apologize for the inconvenience caused to pilots who are already familiar with the shortcuts. We hope that you'll be able to use the new armament within your battle. The neat thing is that this one's very unique. This one as a rehash means that if you already have it from another suit, you're already going to get it. This is just like a sub weapon, and then so is this. So these, you're just going to have to redo your buttons. These two are likely the only ones you're going to have to really acquire. And this one, I think they don't even mention it. You might as well just assume that you have it, probably from just getting one of the aqua suits or whatever. And then we go into the bigger one. And generally one that seems like it's mostly people I think are just observing it right now and trying to figure it out. But rating match rivalry system, variable values adjusted. Let's zoom in for this one in particular. I should have probably did that for the whole thing, but you know, I always forget. So, since the rating match of GBO2 was a team game, depending on rating increasing and decreasing based on team wins and losses. In addition to this, rating increasing and decreasing based on rival wins or losses. Based on the total deviation is also calculated in order to evaluate individual successes. And if it felt like you were having a stroke hearing me say that, it's because I felt like I was having one when I was fucking trying to say it. Everything in this explanation really shows the limitations of their translation. And it hurts me. It hurts me a lot. Essentially, and we can talk about it a little bit. The rival system is starting to get overhauled, and by overhauled I mean they're just kind of flattening a lot of what's going on. So the rating change is kind of summarized here. So you get a certain amount over your rival in total score, and total score is what they total out to actually make sure how you know, by how much you've actually beaten your rival or if you've lost. So essentially, from 1 to 59, 60 to 90, 89, and over 90 plus, you're going from +1, +2, +3. And then of course you also have the win-loss, the rating, and everything else that's factored into how many points you get at the end. And then the big thing here is that at lose, less than 0, nothing changes for that. That part is being factored out entirely when you lose. So there's actually been some people who have been trying to crunch numbers and stuff, and generally just figured out some charts. This is brought to you by Kotaro of GGG or GCH's crew, and we can look at the graphic here. So this is a comparison of the before and after, and this is just like a difference of all of them after it's all said and done. So in the original system, you either got +7 at the very top of a win or -7 at the very bottom of a loss, depending on how bad the difference was between you. So say that you were at the ass end or even mid, and you just got your ass whipped most of the match, and then the fucking rival system had the goddamn audacity to throw you up against number 1 who had a fucking amazing game. Bam! There you go. Really shitty. So it's like we said before in the summary, for the changes, it's just 1, 2, and 3. Now, compared to the original ratio here, that means that the threshold for you only getting +1 is a lot larger than it was before. There's no extra nuance here with the 1, 2, 2, 3. It's just all 1 across that part from 1 to +59. It thins out a little bit once you get to +2, and then once you hit +90, forget about it. You don't even have to worry about the other one for 7. Like, that's just non-factor. You got 90 plus, good job. That's all you're gonna get. Now, that does mean that there's no... It's interesting because part of me wants to say, well, there's no way for you to salvage after a win, but at the same time, all you're really salvaging is not losing as many points in the rival loss. And they even mentioned this in the rest of the post on here. So if we go back, okay, but of course pilots were able to achieve high results. Among them were able to win against their rivals, but it was quite difficult. In addition, the rate increase-decrease range of -1 to +7 when rivals lose is very large. And you recognize that the more a team loses, the more stressful the rival situation becomes. And that kind of recognizes the fact that, like, if you're on a really bad losing streak, you're constantly just crossing your fingers that you got paired up against the right person and that whoever it was an absolute jobber, and that you're at least going to salvage some of the points that you would have lost. You wouldn't have lost if you actually weren't paired up against, you know, top person, like we said before. So now all that extra stress is gone. You're still going to lose points for all the other stuff factored in. The interesting thing about this, however, is that now I'm sure there's going to be at least a few people griping that when you win, you're not climbing super high as much as you could before, because the general scale of the points and stuff, they're not going to change, which pretty much means that at this point you're going to be losing, you're going to be falling a lot less, but you're going to be climbing a lot slower as a result. And of course, when you get into the higher ratings and stuff, you're still going to be losing more than if you were at the lower in terms of points, just because of all the other points being factored in plus rating and the difference. So keep that in mind. It won't really mean a whole lot to people that are kind of like in the A's and up. It'll mean a little bit more for people who are in S, just because they'll probably drop a little bit less and be in less contention if they're actually really deep in there. Anyone who's actually in a really good chunk of their rating, this means you're going to drop slower. It means you're also going to climb slower, but you know what? At least you won't get absolutely smashed during that streak and then just get plunged down. Some of the bigger fluctuations at lower cost are going to be stifled a bit, but that also means that climbing out of those lower ends is also going to be a little bit slower. Hopefully that doesn't discourage people, since their big wins aren't really going to score them into some of the higher lower ratings a little bit quicker. But we'll just have to see. Overall, it's kind of a nice change for people who have kind of been down on their luck. I know in the last few days of dailies, we've had some really rough runs. People who are either sitting out of the matches in protest, people who are leaving. But that's something we're honestly going to be talking about probably for the rest of the week. I'm sure we're going to go around in circles about it when it comes to the podcast. Oh my god, I'm already kind of not looking forward to it. It's gonna be a long one. We're gonna see what the hell happens with that. Woo! But that brings us to the next one, which is added function for shuffle target. So this is very simple on the surface, essentially, and I think this is just target will still be randomly selected. I think this is literally just explaining the rules of target shuffle. So that's all the same. The bigger change here is that the targets on the enemy side are still not going to be displayed to you. You're only going to know them as they come up, but you're going to know the next person on your side. Which means that when that timer changes, you're going to know who's actually going to be the target on your side. On the surface, not a big deal. Here's a problem though. It's actually a mode that they use in clans. So the bigger thing to me in talking about this is that this brings up a couple scenarios, and the bigger thing that it changes is player behavior, right? Because normally you would just say, as a rule of thumb, sit close to each other, don't push out too much, and when you get close to the timer, everyone bunches up or finishes what they got, or tries to preserve people just in case they think that they're going to be able to get people. So the guessing game for when the enemy is about to have their target happen is still on your side, right? You still have to guess. You still have to essentially assume that any one of them could be it. But when it happens to your side, and when they're having to try to scramble and figure out, first you got to figure out, is that guy dead? Second of all, you're going to have to figure out, oh my god, where is that dude? Now that you actually know, you have to make a choice. Do you, if they're particularly far away from the team, try to rush and get over there so that you can cover him, or at least do some advancing cover fire so that he can get back towards you? Also, when the person in question knows that they're going to be the target next, what are they going to do? Are they going to double down in suicide if they're really low? Are they actually going to try to panic, get a stun on whoever they're facing, back the fuck off? Because all that extra activity and general, just, I guess, body language, for lack of a better word, or behavior, is going to probably give away who it is a lot more than if you didn't know. That being said, considering the general chaos of some of these matches, and especially if you're at a higher player cap, 6v6, whatever, it might not be that noticeable, but for the people who are a little bit more keen of eye, that might give them an edge. They'll be able to do some callouts and probably have some better guesses as to who they should be focusing and keeping alive, which also means that they can prioritize killing other people if that person gives themselves away too much, and then they can just single this guy out and then, whack his shit. So interesting change. Kind of makes it a bit more, I don't want to say competitive, but it feels like you can at least plan and has a little bit more, strategy to it than it still, but ultimately the targets are still random. You're still going to have to do the guessing game. You're just going to have more hints, more or less. And of course, you're going to have no hints on your side. You're just going to fucking know. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. I don't think that any of the ones coming up in clans are actually going to be target shuffle. Let me double check real quick. I know for sure the next one is actually basic. That's on 250 6v6. Yeah, and then the next one's actually Simple Battle Tropical Desert 600 4v4. And that's an evening match. So right now, as of right now, the actual schedule does not have Target Shuffle. And if they do update it, then it's gonna be a couple weeks from now anyway. Because the one that we're doing for 250 is actually gonna be on the 7th, which is next week. So we got an extra week, and then that one drops, and then we just, you know, continue from there. So I don't know. We'll see if it comes into play later. The other thing to keep in mind is that even though they talk about all this, let me see, I'm gonna do a quick check. Rates. No, they don't mention bringing it into rated. So it's still generally just gonna be a quick match sort of thing, unless you're doing it for clans. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. That would have been an interesting twist, to be honest. It's like, oh, well, now with these new changes, we feel more comfortable bringing it into rated. Have fun. Like, oh my god, could you imagine? But that is not what it is. So, moving on. Last but not least, next update scheduled is going to be this week, and we actually have a Powered Up Hanger campaign. 3 times great success at hangers and 3 times enhanced values for duplicate MSs. So hopefully you can get some more grind. I'm gonna be honest, this is kind of nice for me because I've been running really low on silver and gold tickets on my main account. Hopefully some of that will put them over if we get dupes while we're trying to spin during Golden Week and all that good stuff. We'll just have to see. But that'll actually wrap it up for this current dev letter. Oh boy. So the rating one's gonna be an interesting one to mull over. Hopefully it actually works out well, and we'll definitely be seeing it in practice very soon. That being said, whenever they make big changes like this, cross your fingers that nothing else breaks. Especially when they're doing stuff deeper within the system as opposed to just suit changes and stuff. We'll just have to see. Hopefully we don't have to mess with other shit. But we will find out. And until then, I hope you guys have a good rest of your morning, night, or whatever. And I'll talk to you all in the next video.